The two long-lost brothers finally meet in person. Cooler arrives on Earth with his army, with Yulong ready to face off against him. Neither knows what the other is capable of, so they're not too sure how the fight will go. Although Cooler is pretty confident. We'll be covering that battle and more in this fifth part of What If Frieza Was Good. The fight officially starts with Cooler underestimating his brother. He feels like Frieza using his second form as a bluff, but he's already changed so much that maybe it isn't. Maybe that really is where he caps out in terms of power, which is kind of funny to him. This will be easier than he thought. To think that he had so much potential before and this is all he can muster? And this is the effect Yulong hoped this would have. He's trying to take advantage of Cooler's lowered guard, but he'll only have one chance to do so. So he makes Cooler feel a false sense of security, acting like he's having a really tough time in battle, and noticing that Cooler's holding back too. It seems like he wants to prolong this and enjoy it, which is perfect for Yulong. With Cooler's lowered power, that gives him one opportunity to actually give a strong attack. He's trying to play it smart and finish it as quick as possible. So, with Cooler's guard completely lowered, Yulong then powers up quickly, instantly going into his final form, attacking just as quickly as he transforms, hitting Cooler with a point-blank Kamehameha with an unexpected power-up alongside it. Cooler is able to pivot himself in the nick of time, but the attack still does injure him, taking a chunk out of the side of his torso. Well, it didn't really do what Yulong hoped, but still, at least this creates a weak spot for him. It seems Cooler's already at his full power, and they could just exploit this. Yulong now has the advantage. Even though the attack wasn't the kill shot that Yulong wanted, it still did a good amount of damage. And he starts attacking Cooler right in that weak spot. Cooler could see that Yulong's not playing around at all. He really doesn't care about revenge or any personal feelings. He just wants Cooler gone. Yulong's in this fight solely to protect Earth. Having a fun battle will be nice, but he knows this won't be a fun battle. The stakes are too high here. All he wants to do is get this over with and make sure everyone is safe. But there's one flaw in his assessment. Yulong could see that in their final forms, they're even, although with Cooler injured, as long as he keeps hitting that weak spot, he could land more critical blows on him. But this isn't Cooler's full power. He actually does have a form above this. He maintains his confident demeanor. This form might look similar to Frieza's final form, but it's not his final form. It feels like the entire Earth starts shaking as Cooler powers up. The ground below them cracks, with chunks of it flying in the air. Cooler starts to grow in size, and Yulong does try to attack mid-transformation, but Cooler's able to fend him off even while transforming, and he achieves his full transformation. He smirks in Yulong's direction, but the smirk's then covered up by a mask. He tells his brother his final form is useless, even if he goes to 100% power. Cooler transforming actually did partially heal that wound he had, but Yulong notices it's still there, a weak spot, and there's a huge difference in power between him and Cooler. But he notes something Cooler said. He thinks Yulong's holding back, and Yulong kinda knows he is too, but it's not something that he could just easily overcome. He's not holding back for any particular reason. It's just subconsciously, he's used to this. After decades of being on Earth and subconsciously suppressing his power, this is just the norm for him. He only just recently unlocked his final form, but this isn't the full power of that form and he knows it. There's still a mental block in his mind, keeping him from fighting fully uninhibited, mostly due to him worrying about the others around him and the planet. If he gets some power that he can't control, then everyone's doomed. Yulong launches up in the air and then flies out into space, with Cooler following him. This way, he can mitigate some of the damage. Back on the surface, everyone else is fighting Cooler's army. Goku fights against the Saiyans alone. He comes face to face with Raditz again, asking why he did this. Raditz says it's their only shot at killing Cooler. Initially when they came to recruit Kakarot, that was also part of the reason. He said it was to help take over a planet, but more so, it was to begin strengthening their ranks. A slow process and eventually forming a rebellion against Cooler. One where the Saiyans could defeat him and then take over. But when he saw Frieza, he had a much better idea. Just bring him here, have the two of them fight. At the very least, they hope Frieza could injure Cooler enough for them to jump in and then finish it. But Goku says they should have just left Earth alone. They didn't want to be involved in this, and he also warns the Saiyans that it probably won't go well for them. He's confident in Yulong's power and in his own. Goku then powers up into Kaioken very quickly, overpowering all of them, barely using it. They do absolutely nothing to Goku. Nappa then charges an artificial moon in his hand and throws it up in the sky, as Raditz tries to go for Goku's tail. Thing is here, that's not going to work. Goku's tail isn't a weak point. The whole reason he still has it is because he's trained. Not only to not have it as a weak point, but because he can control Grade Ape. So, as they all transform into Grade Ape, Goku does too, with all of Goku's friends watching nearby. They didn't get an advantage here, they just made themselves bigger targets. And it actually makes Goku kinda wonder, could he use Kaioken with Grade Ape? He never actually tried that, but it's worth a shot here. The Saiyans look terrified as Goku powers up, surrounded by that same red aura. Kaioken combined with the power of Grade Ape. He's really excited to take this for a test drive. Within an instant, all the Saiyans are defeated once more. He cuts all their tails off too just to make sure. And with ease, he demolishes the rest of the army too, making it a lot easier for his allies. Although he looks around wondering where Yulong went, but he senses his power up in the sky, actually way beyond that. Yulong of course knows by now that he's able to survive in space, that's why he took the fight up here. And he can sense that down below all the enemies have been defeated. He's been stalling for time against Cooler here. He's come to see that Cooler doesn't really overpower him to a huge extent. He can't really get an estimate on Cooler's true strength. It's enough of a gap in power that Cooler's having a really easy time here, but not to the point where they have no shot at winning. Maybe if he could actually somehow tap into his full power here, that'll be what he needs to win, and that's why he went into space. He could use his power uninhibited here and not worry about destroying anything. At least that's what he thinks will happen. It still seems like he can't tap into that power, mainly because he doesn't have the focus for it right now. He'd need some time to power up and try and tap into it. He's never used it before, so he doesn't really know how far to go with it either. And those mental blocks are still kind of in place. It's not something he can correct by just chaining to the locale. It's something he's been struggling with for a while. He needs some sort of greater catalyst. Or far more training. And Cooler could see there was no point in taking this fight to space. He wants to make sure Frieza could watch all his friends die too. So he launches right into his brother, hitting him with a powerful gut punch. He then spins around, kicking Yulong right down into the planet. Yulong's barely able to slow himself at the last moment. If he didn't slow himself down, he would have went right through the entire planet. Cooler turned him into a projectile to destroy the planet with. And just as Yulong gets back up, in the blink of an eye, Cooler launches down on the planet, catching Yulong under his foot, stomping him further and further into the ground. The human fighters all jump in. Krillin flings a Kienzan at Cooler, but he simply grabs it, then takes it in both hands and snaps it in half. Although interestingly enough, he looks at his hand. There is a slight cut on it. Krillin thought that would do more, especially because he used Kaioken when making it, but it just barely scratched his hands even when he grabbed it. But Yulong sees that maybe he could use something like this to his advantage. A focused attack like that on his weak spot maybe. Chaozu then tries to use telekinesis to hold Cooler in place, with Yulong able to escape from under his foot. Quickly, Cooler is able to break free from it and then launches right towards Chaozu. But then a Kikoho comes from above, protecting him, barely holding Cooler back. With Yamcha trying to attack from a distance with a spirit ball, the area is then illuminated with a red glow as Goku walks over, still in his great ape form. That red light suddenly shifts to a blue one, with the terrifying image of a great ape charging a Kamehameha. Everyone barely gets out of the way in time as he launches it right at Cooler, but Cooler simply jumps right through it. It does nothing to him, and he punches Goku right in the face, quickly looking around in the sky, seeing the artificial moon that the Saiyans created. He lifts up a finger, blowing it up. The unconscious Saiyans nearby begin to de-transform, with Goku also going back to his normal state. Thankfully, he took his clothes off before transforming. Otherwise, he'd be fighting naked right now. But Goku then notes the injury that Cooler has, and he starts to go right for that. That's going to be their key to victory. Quickly, he goes back into Kaioken, attacking him. But Cooler completely outspeeds him. And you can see what Goku's trying to do. The injury still is there, hurting him too. Not that the pain matters to him. He's incredibly durable, but he knows Frieza was trying to land a critical blow to some sort of organs there. Had Cooler not dodged in time, this would have done way more damage and left a massive hole in his chest. Even then, he feels like he'd still be able to fight. It would just leave a much bigger weak spot for them to exploit. But especially with him transformed now, he doesn't even care about it. He thinks it's pathetic that they're even going after it. He says the Saiyan's power was impressive when he was a giant monkey, but now that he's just using whatever that red technique is, he's nothing to Cooler. Not that he would have been a massive problem before either, although that giant Kamehameha did scorch him a bit. With a single hit, he knocks Goku down, then going after the others, but Yulong gets back up just in time, trying to protect them. He then creates his own destructor disc, flinging a barrage of them at Cooler, but Cooler dodges them pretty easily. But Yulong's able to control them remotely, making them chase Cooler around. But with a flick of his wrist, Cooler blasts all of them away, except for one that flies back at him, grazing the weak spot at his side, cutting a little deeper into it, and if that hit him directly, it might have cut clean through him. What an impressive technique. Still, not enough though. He's done messing around. He lifts up both hands, forming them into finger guns. A barrage of blasts knocks everybody down. Not killing them just yet, but taking them out of the battle. Yulong's the only one able to barely stand up against this. An enraged Goku flies in, attacking Cooler with everything he's got. They just wanted peace. Why does Cooler need to come here to kill his brother? He's not a problem for Cooler anymore. He doesn't even really want to fight him. But since they have to fight here, Goku's going to make sure everyone's safe. He knows Yulong is stronger than him, but now it's his chance to protect Yulong. He's not going to let him get hurt. Yulong's always protected him. He needs to return the favor. Really? Cooler thinks it's interesting that he's that close with the Saiyan. He lifts up a finger once more, launching a death beam that flies right past Goku. Goku turns around and sees it go right through Yulong's chest, with the already weakened Yulong falling to the ground. Everything around them's destroyed. All his friends are fallen, and he's not even sure who's alive anymore. He can't even check if they're unconscious or actually dead. But seeing all of them strewn out like that, and now Yulong falling to the ground too, something snaps in Goku. Barely conscious on the other side of the battlefield, the Saiyans all feel something weird. The ground's shaking. They can't sense what's going on, but there's a brilliant golden glow nearby. Vegeta's barely able to prop himself up, and he sees what looks to be Kakarot, with a fierce golden aura around him. There's no way that's what he thinks it is. Even Cooler's briefly terrified. He's changed, but he realizes what this is. The legend, the Super Saiyan. Goku starts rapidly attacking Cooler, not even realizing he's changed. He makes sure to go right for the weak spot too, and slowly, he's chipping Cooler's health away, but Cooler's then able to recollect himself. For a brief moment, he was stunned by the Super Saiyan. Now that he's regained his senses, even though Goku was able to injure him a bit, Cooler could see that the Super Saiyan stands no chance against him. It's actually kind of funny. Cooler then grabs Goku by the neck. Nearby, Yulong's on the ground. He saw a bit of what happened, and he's proud of Goku for doing whatever that was. But he's more so shocked that whatever just happened didn't kill him. He always forgets the fact that he's so resilient because he rarely faces damage like this. But he has a hole right through his chest, and he's still able to fight. But his whole body is aching. He could barely stand up. but he manages to do so. This is the moment they can defeat Cooler. With Goku's help, they won't lose. But the second he gets up, the first thing he sees is Cooler holding Goku in the air, breaking his neck, and with another hand, blasting a hole right through his chest. He didn't expect the Super Saiyan to be that easy to kill. He thought he'd put up more of a fight. Sure, if Cooler hadn't trained, that would have been an issue for him. But his hard work is what brought him here. It created the first Super Saiyan, but also helped him easily kill the first Super Saiyan. And now he'll kill Frieza for good. He's already savored the moment, so he could finish the rest of them. Yulong feels like he's in a trance. He doesn't know what to feel. For the first time, he couldn't protect his friends. It's almost like he zones out for a bit, watching Goku fall to the ground lifeless. The adrenaline, the anger, the sadness. Something finally breaks within him. And it's not due to rage that he's unlocking this. His full power has always been there. He just never got past that mental barrier that he needed to get past. This entire time, he never realized he's only been fighting about 30 or 40% power. But seeing his friends near death like that, seeing Goku die like that, everything in his mind that was holding him back from using his full strength, there's no reason for that to be held back anymore. If Cooler destroys everything, there won't be anything left to protect. He can't keep thinking like that. Yulong's aura flares up. He bulks up considerably. This isn't a power derived from rage or anything. This is just him completely uninhibited. That mental block is broken. Yulong is now fighting at 100% power. But that's not to say he isn't feeling rage at the moment. He certainly is. He launches right into Cooler, tackling him into space. They launch into the depths of the solar system, fighting out in the vacuum. A bloody brawl ensues. Cooler's been weakened enough and Yulong's been powered up enough that they can actually fight evenly now. Yulong actually starts to do some real damage to him. Cooler's injured, he's bleeding, and this pushes Yulong even further. He could do it, he could win here. And that rage he felt at Goku's death, it's still there, but it partially subsides because he knows he can bring Goku back. He just has to make sure Earth is intact. He's recollected himself, but still he's fighting completely uninhibited. It's like he's controlling it somehow. He actually did it. The two continue to exchange blows, and every hit Yulong lands is for someone he wants to protect. Had it not been for Goku's brief intervention, Yulong might not be alive right now to do this. He thanks his brother. He's probably safe with King Kai somewhere, and he hopes he's watching what's about to happen. Yulong charges as much energy as he can in one hand, grabbing onto the bloody spot on Cooler's side, launching as much ki as he can into them, staggering Cooler, with Yulong grabbing his tail, swinging him around, slamming him into one of the nearby moons. On the rings of Saturn, weakened Cooler jumps back up, trying to charge his supernova, but Yulong plants his feet into one of the moons, propelling himself upwards with great speed. A Kamehameha is launched from his feet, speeding him up even further. Inspired by Goku, he performs a solar flare from Tenshinhan, blinding Cooler, and for the grand finale, his hands, they match the planet behind him, surrounded by their own rings, small destructo discs that he made, taken from Krillin. In another life, these would be death saucers. Not that he'd even know that. He continues launching forward at full speed, with Cooler throwing down a barely charged supernova, but Yulong cuts right through it, and then cuts right through his brother, slicing Cooler clean in half. He then throws a barrage of the disc down below, cutting him into smaller pieces. He would have done this before, but he didn't have the opening, and now he does. But he knows how durable he and his brother are. Even dicing him like that, it probably didn't kill Cooler. Just like he destroyed everything Cooler stood for, he's gonna destroy every little bit of Cooler as well. If anything, Goku's his true brother. He doesn't need Cooler in his life. No one on Earth could really see what's going on because of how far it is, but even that far away they could sense Yulong's power, as he finishes everything off with a Kamehameha, incinerating whatever's left of Cooler. Krillin then notices some spaceships nearby. They don't have the energy to stop them, but it looks like the Saiyans are alive, and they were barely able to escape, with a huge explosion nearby too. It seems the Saiyans used whatever power remained to kill the soldiers that were still alive, just so they wouldn't be tracked down. A few minutes later, Yulong then enters the atmosphere, descending back down to the planet, bloodied, beaten, and barely conscious, but with a smile on his face. He did it. He used his full power. He protected everyone, and Earth is once more at peace. He then does lose consciousness, falling to the ground beside Krillin, Tenshinhan, Yamcha, and Chaozu. And Krillin's glad that he looks happy. He must have realized that they could bring Goku back. It was Yulong's first time experiencing death, and also remembering Shenron's great power. They realize that's probably not the entirety of Cooler's army. He still does have a father too. But they're not worried. If this battle continues, the rest of it will be much easier. And as Yulong unconsciously lays there with a smile on his face, this is where we'll leave off for now. What'd you guys think about this part? And what's going to happen next? Leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel and shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.